disclaimer, these are a panel of experiences. So not everything that will be shared today might be applicable to you, but let's just take away what we can from today. Okay, before we introduce our beautiful and handsome guest, Jaira will lead us in prayer. Dun, 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 dun. Are you recording?
Yes. All right, let us pray. Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for our very special panelists. Thank you for all the time that you've given us to gather here today as we learn from each other and learn about the wise thing to do in our lives and different phases of life. Thank you, Lord, for this time. Bless this session and the questions and the answers. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Okay, so today's we're starting our first adulting series. We hope to have this every 2 months or every 3 months. Yeah. So today's topic is about career, about work experiences, and office politics and whatnot. So we will try to streamline our questions in this direction. Also, thank you for everybody for contributing questions, and also we will have a time to ask. So if you have something like in the back of your mind that you want to ask immediately, take note, and we will allocate a time for that. Okay, so from the left.
Yes. Your left.
Right.
Without further ado,
My left. Without further ado, we introduce.
don't hit because the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Everything was wrong.
Something wrong. Left, right. Okay.
Nothing's right.
Yeah, panel of experience. Okay, anyway, Kuya Ma. He is a professional, open-minded human. Yeah. The best. Okay, and next we have also another handsome gentleman, Kuya
Randy! Guys.
Kuya Robin, who is a educator and a lifelong student. Yes. Okay. And then after that, the star. AJ, who is an artist, educator, and a meow me.
What's a meow me?
A cat mommy. Meow me. And finally, the beautiful, the queen, Ate Janina, who is a regional commercial leader, Jesus follower. Hello, Daniel. Welcome for joining. Yeah. Okay, so just in case you have questions, I repeat, let's hold them up till the end when we have our open mic. And if we missed any questions that you asked and we did not answer, we can after that. Okay, so we will start with a warm-up question. And here we go. Oh, not warm-up question. Actually, let's keep erase. Okay.
Some more warm-up question.
Before we start, we need to first introduce you. You need to get to know who our panelists are. So,
All right.
Jack, go.
Starting from my left, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Alright, so Ate Janina, I've been with the same company, GSK, so it's a multinational pharmaceutical based out of UK. Working for 17 years in the same company. Currently, my role is called Regional Commercial Operations Lead. What that means is I look after 9 countries in our region.
Her card's this long.
It's a mouthful. But I think the interesting thing, so I think I come with a perspective, is it possible to stay in the same company for 17 years and still be happy and still grow? So if you're kind of curious around that angle, I think I'll be able to share some of my experience in that space.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now,
I have
Jojo.
no job.
Dapat sa'yo, I've been jobless for 17
The gist of it, I am a theater major. I graduated from musical theater, and now I am pursuing the arts industry. in Singapore. And Meow Me because I am also a cat mom and thus work in a cat hotel. But I'll go into details of freelancing as well as getting a job on the side to sustain you later on as well. Yeah.
Very nice. All right, thank you. All right. And our other Alinganan.
As you know, I'm a Tito now. So I'm not gonna, Tito Robin. Well, I grew up here, kinda. I came here when I was 10 and I went through the system, primary school, secondary school, JC, uni, graduated with a degree on engineering, started out as engineer and then something changed, which I will share later on. And hopefully, I can't imagine, I'm not the type of person who can imagine myself being in the same place for 17 years. I'm not that blessed. But that's a huge blessing. I'm coming from that another perspective of, if God gives you this, are you sure that's yours, or is there something else? Yeah. So that's.
All right. Thank you very much. And our last panelist.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Pangalan pa lang eh.
Hello. Hi.
Human. Exactly. So I'm an OFW. I'm here together with my wife and Clark. I think you know Clark. So we came here first back in 2009 as an OFW. So my first job here, I lasted there for 10 years, and then I just recently joined a new company last month or in March. Okay. So I think my experience here, the things that I can share probably is how to become about my experiences about being open-minded. So as I was introduced earlier, I'm a professional open-minded. If you don't know what it means back in the Philippines or anywhere around the world, there's actually multi-level marketing, all those kind of profiteering or scammers or something like that. So I'm not the scammer. I'm the scammer.
Yes, I don't have money. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm God bless.
Yep. So that will be the experience that I will be able to share, and a bit of something else.
All right. We will find out what that something else is later. All right. Thank you, panelists. Now, a second round of opener questions. This one hits home for a lot of us. Starting from Tito Mark. What did you want to be when you grew up, when you were younger? And what did you become? Well, what did you want to be when you grew up?
So it's actually a long story, but so I grew up in a messy family, and there was really no one who guided me on, or even asked me what do you want to grow up, because usually the thing that you want to grow up, the thing that you want to be when you grow up, would be something that will be asked about you, right? But I did not. Nobody asked me about that question, so technically there's really nothing that came up of my mind. Okay, so when I graduated from high school, and then I had to pick up the college or the course that I want to be, I just said anything that's what is interesting during that time, which is computer science. Okay, so I just took that one. But things happen, or financially we are not stable, as I mentioned earlier. So I did not actually finish my studies. But still, with God's blessing, that I'm able to secure a job in Singapore. I know it's quite hard to find or to get an S pass or E pass without the diploma or something like that, right? But by God's grace, I've been blessed by God. So I've been in Singapore for more than 10 years now.
I wanted to be an astronaut. Baba lang naman. So when I was young, I really wanted to fly. I wanted to be an astronaut. Then that kind of, then I read up. Oh, I can't be an astronaut. Sige, pilot na lang. And then then after that got lowered because this one's quite low.
Tree climber.
Tree climber na lang. Pero even then, no. But I wanted to be an astronaut seriously, and then I wanted to, pilot, and then after pilot, I wanted to be like my dad. Yeah, because he seems so important. And then I went to his job, and then I went to his workplace just to check it out. And yeah, I didn't equate important to boring as well. So sorry, Daddy. Boring for me, but exciting for him. And then it just changed. It kept changing. If you ask me tomorrow, what do I want to be in 5 years? Probably, I don't know, employed.
Just kidding. No.
Only her brother can do that.
No, we shouldn't be in the same panel. She's employed. She's I think.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah, but then it kept changing as I studied. Even as I read my degree in uni, it changed. Yeah.
Thank you, Kuya Robin.
Okay, so what did I want to be? I wanted to be an archaeologist at first when I was younger, forensic scientist, sort of that field. Oh, because I watched a lot of like NCIS.
Kala your roommate.
A lot of like, yeah. I guess when I also read books, it was always towards like Detective Nancy Drew, you know, the Hardy Boys, or something like that. Like, and then growing up, it started to become a journalist. Yeah, and I think I was very interested in articles. I used to actually read. At that time, when newspaper was still quite in, when it was quite important, people were printing newspapers. I would read with my dad next to him, and then other times would be slowly when the internet also was available to us growing up. That was when I discovered a lot of like things. And I also like psycho thrillers actually. That I don't know if anybody knows that, but I like watching psycho thrillers, and kind of scary because I really like it. But yeah, and then yeah, I guess I only started finding out that no, not really. In the back of my head and what I was doing in the background, I was always performing. Here it started in church, and that blossomed halfway through puberty, and then all of a sudden I realized that my brain was also going was not as I wasn't so interested in doing the being put in a academic field. I like studying, I liked English, I like history, I like social studies, but it was really more towards the arts that
Growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. Obviously, I didn't get to that path, so I married one instead. But I think more out of, it was the close, we were going to school, the person you see all the time is your teacher, and I think I got exposed to very inspiring teachers, and I thought I wanted to be one. To be honest, my parents discouraged me from becoming a teacher because they said it wouldn't pay well. It was a lot of hard work with very little pay. So I think being practical, and we'll get to that later, can also, I'm not saying that's true in Singapore, but in the Philippines, that was quite true. But what I knew, I liked math and I liked talking. So I ended up getting a course that was heavy on math and heavy on comms, and that's, I ended up taking a degree in management engineering, which turns out opens quite a number of doors in corporate. So a lot of my batchmates ended up either as bankers, marketeers, operations. So for me, I just went for a course that gave me options because I wasn't clear what I wanted to do. I knew what I was good at, math and comms. And yeah, the Lord led me to a career as a marketer initially in GSK. And I just loved it so much and stayed on for 17 years now.
Wow, 17 years. How many of you in the audience is 17? Nobody.
Anybody here 17?
Anyone 17 here?
18?
18, 19?
90?
19, 19.
Yeah, look.
Relax, man.
Most still 17.
Most still looks like he was
You
17.
look the same.
All right. Thank you, panelists. This is what this workshop's about. This is the Adulting 101. It's really bridging the gap through their stories from when we were kids, what do you want to be when you grow up, those young aspirations, to the middle of it, and to where you are now and where God will take you in the future. Thank you. So our last opener question is an interesting one. This is more of we all want to hear this part of your life story. It is, when did you realize I'm an adult now. What was that moment for you in your life where you realized you were no longer, you were no longer a kid anymore. You were an adult. Starting from.
When I graduated from university, day one, I think my parents were very clear. The moment you get your diploma, you won't get any allowance from us. So that was the moment it dawned on me. I needed to make my own money. But also it came, I think I'm so grateful for my parents. They also said, we're also entrusting you to make decisions for yourself. So that was the time very clearly for me that I felt like I was already an adult.
LaSalle was an eye-opener for me. Also, my parents gradually let go of disciplining me and making sure that I know how to know what is right and wrong. And then they understood also that my scheduling in LaSalle was crazy, and so they were able to kind of step back, and that was when I realized also that I was going to be more responsible of myself and my decisions and everything that I was going to be involved in. But really, I think it's funny because you'd feel it, but then it won't really occur to it didn't really occur to me because my parents were always there. We're always living in one roof. But when they left for New Zealand, that was like, okay, now I'm alone, or now we're separated. Now they've given full trust, and so that was like, oh, okay, I'm in it for the real thing, yeah.
For me, it started in the army, because that was when I was very gung ho and told my parents, "Hey, man, I'm earning na like like whoa, high roller, right? How much are you earning? $350. No. Allowance lang yun eh. So, but that was when I'm earning now, kinda. I get my own allowance. I'm no longer getting allowance from my parents, and hence I have to enter this mode of this is my thing now. This is where I begin. Like I have to, if I'm going to date someone and I'm going to watch a movie, I have to okay, after this movie, I got to get the cheapest one, and then make sure that I'm going to a value
for money.
Value for money dinner or something. It was when I had to manage my own finances, and I stopped relying on my parents. But I think they agree. There are levels to it. Like at first, I thought, I'm an adult now. I'm managing this much. I'm doing part time. And then the money kind of the salary kind of increases, and then you're like, oh no, it's more to this. There's more to this. Last time I only cared about whether I could watch a movie on a weekend or a weeknight, or but now I have to take care of diapers and whatnot, and school, and then Rebecca's gonna be primary one, and that's another level of adulting. Like people are like, hey dude, have you applied for Rebecca's primary school? Like who does that? You just grow up. Like which one's the nearest? But yeah, there's levels to it. But it started when I told my parents that, let me try, sink or swim. Yeah.
Okay, adulting. What do you really mean by adulting? I think for me, adulting starts when what do you call this? When you start to think about earning for yourself. Okay, but for me, as a continuation of my story earlier. So it's a messy family. I don't know, father. They're separated. So I have an older brother. We both didn't finish anything. We didn't finish college or some course like that. So we have to tend to ourselves, right? We have to somehow earn. So after graduating high school, I managed to get a scholarship, but somehow in the middle, I tried to go astray. I don't know what happened to me. But again, by God's grace, I am able to find a job. Okay, I was able to get a job. Most of my jobs would really last me around 5 years, and then I would move on again. But yeah, adulting, I think it started when I'm around 18, 19 years old, because I really, as part of a family, I need to be able to provide. And yeah, I had to support my mom, my sister, and everyone else in the family. I have to be able to contribute. All right. So adulting started earlier, immaturely for me. Okay, so, that's I think that's the word there. Immaturity, because I'm not yet in the right age. I'm not yet ready, but I have to do it already. Okay, so yeah, that's how it started for me as an adult.
Thank you so much. Some of us here are also wondering, yeah, I think I'm an adult now. I'm sure you'll have your own answers to this question, and they're all unique and all part of your story. Right.
Okay, so we will go into our questions now that you submitted. We broke it up. We categorized it into 4 sections. So I'll just let you know, we have a spiritual or biblical approach to career or the future. Next will be personal perspectives on the career, the choices. Next is passive income, entrepreneurship, and then lastly, workplace dynamics. So we grouped your questions in this order, and then from there, we streamlined because some of you submitted very similar questions as well. So we'll start with our spiritual and biblical approaches to career. So the most voted question is, how do you know God's will for your career? Yes, because I'm sure everyone wants to know what am I meant to be doing on this planet? What is my purpose? And we're all just looking for the same. Are we being fulfilled and all these things? So just quick, like on the top of your mind, on the top of your head, how do you know God's will for your career? If you can put yourself back into the moment where you were deciding for yourself what you're gonna do for your
just so it's orderly, I can kick off quickly. I think if there's one thing I wish somebody told me before, God's will for my career is not one career and like everything else is wrong answer. It's not like multiple choice and the correct answer is D. And if I answer B, I'm in big trouble. So the good news is, with God, I really think it's really a sphere of possibilities, and I don't think, and He's given us the free will to choose. So for me, I think that's the very liberating thing. There's no one correct answer, and God can bless you, can honor your decision as long as you live by His principles. So for me, I knew that I was operating in an area. I knew where I am is where God wants me to be because it's playing to the strengths He's given me. I know that I'm making impact in the workplace. I mean, sometimes it's not very obvious. Like sometimes there are days when I just face an Excel the whole day, and sometimes you think, and I see Elmer, who's a teacher who blesses lives, and I'm like, God, do I have purpose in what I do? And I think the good news is, I can frame it in different ways. I'm in a pharmaceutical company. Whatever profits we make is used to discover drugs that could save people. I think I'm in the right industry. I think in my direct colleagues, I work with people who do not know Jesus, and in the way I live my life, it's an opportunity to shine for Him. So I know where I am is where I'm supposed to be. But I think there's no one correct answer. God is able to bless you as you exercise your free will, as you play to your strengths, as you follow the open doors that He leads before you.
Thank you. Anybody else? You can chime in.
Copy paste.
Copy paste.
I mean, I guess I can resonate with what Ate Nina says about like not one career is the exact answer for you. For me, growing up, I wasn't. I guess I tried hard, but I didn't get the A's that people will get in your results, right? I would get B's and C's and maybe one A from English, but like I guess that kind of me and my parents or my family, we always questioned, hey, why you so like that? No, why are your grades like that? What do you want to do? Why is it like you're not putting effort? But it is, it was a big discussion growing up. Eventually, when I decided to go LaSalle, that was when I think it clicked for all of us in the family that she's good in this. Like, why didn't we see it before? We've seen it before, but maybe it wasn't something that we were not investing in or something like that. Because arts, nobody invests in arts, right? So, one thing that I always remember, that my kind of like my family always also kind of says is like, if as a cohesive like group we're saying that this is not right for you or this is he or she is not right for you, or anything is not right for you, then it's like God telling you that it's not right for you. It's parang the people in your life is something that God uses to tell you also, to guide you. And so when they became very supportive of the career that I prayed for and I chose eventually. And that kind of also gave me the assurance that the Lord is leading me towards that path. I guess in the setting now, presently, how I know that the Lord is really telling me that this is the path that that I should be going for, is how I'm making a difference in the shows that I'm in, or the rehearsals that I'm in, the cast that I'm in, because I meet so many different people. In the arts industries, there are different personalities, different identities, and somehow you get sucked into this secular world. Even going into a university that had so many different kinds of people, it was very I guess it was a tug of war. How would you be a Christian in a place that you think God calls you in? And then it's a lot of things. And then so I believe that the Lord is impressing on me that that this is the place you are supposed to be in, because you need to be the difference in the light, and not part of the world.
Thanks, AJ. Thank you. For me, I just want to chime in. I resonate with that. I was also in LaSalle, but at the time, LaSalle, yeah. Okay. At the time, I knew what I wanted already. So I also agree with Ate Nina. You have to play to your strength. Sometimes that's a key indicator as well. So anyway, please feel free to add if you feel any strong
I think
feelings.
the statement, is this career God's will for me? Sometimes we play too much into that. If you look, now it's the Bible part, right? If you look through the Bible, right? Paul, we all know Paul, right? Paul, set up churches, went to different places, but do you all know that he was a tent maker too? Yeah, he made tents, and he wasn't a powerful, do-it-all kind of dude. He worked in a team. He worked in different teams, and that's the thing. When we talk about, is this career God's will in my life? Probably, yeah. My barometer is the same as when I'm asking whether this spouse is the correct spouse for my life, or this basketball, not basketball game. I'm not a betting person, but whether this decision or this school or whatever, I all have to align to my principle, what do you stand for, right? I mean, and then we can simplify it to love God and love others as much as God loved others. And if and I'm the dude who changed his job, and I'm probably going to change it soon, but I have to think, am I at this point, at this phase in my life, am I able to do these two things? A lot of you are going through careers that might offer you more money, that might give you more freedom, but also might take away these two things. I don't know what it is, but I encounter it for myself. Yeah. I'm not gonna dominate this part because there's more questions. But that was the thing. Okay, I need to leave. Why? It was easier for me to leave because the two things were compromised. Once those two things are compromised, it's an easy decision. But if those two things are compromised and I'm still able to do it, that where I am, tent maker, sure. Team player, sure. Lone Ranger, sure. As long as those two things are satisfied. But if there's any of those two things are satisfied, you can be sure that's not right for you. We're very proud of our sister, by the way. But we're also sure that she was not going to be a mathematician.
So I was like, Ate likes math. I'm like, what the
I guess that's the tricky part, right? There's so many careers. This is not it is far easier to decide than this is it.
Yeah, as long as you know what you shouldn't do, or it doesn't fit you.
But I'll talk about it later.
Yes, I think what they're saying is are good. There's some cliche that goes with it, that God puts you wherever you are so that you can shine. You can be a change maker, or a game changer, or someone who can bring people to him, right? It's the usual cliche that you will get for an answer, actually. But yeah, our careers will be different. Your choice will be different from his choice, and as long as you set some kind of guardrails, which is our next book study. So as long as you set some kind of guardrails that will be, as long as you're within that guardrail, you will not overshoot yourself. Then you're in the right path. You're in the right career.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, just want to what I really like for I actually, it was you said it, Atenina, in passing. Open doors. It's a concept. Is that what you said? The principle of open doors. Some of us will encounter many choices, and I believe that is a good indicator then of where to go. So just seeing it a bit, right? I know a lot of you know the story. I applied also to MOE alongside Kuya Robin the same time we applied, and I did not get in, and I tried 4 times, and it was a very 4 times. And then every year, like, hey, you're back again. I was like, yeah, this is how badly I want it. Every time I get the first interview and I never get the next one. And then Kuya Robin said something to me that like helped me move on from that. The door is not open for you. So that could be a really big indicator of something for you to, I mean, yeah, it works for me as a sign for myself. So I actually just wanted to bring that up again, especially if you're making decisions, you know. Thank you po. By the way, we are recording these answers. We will also upload this in our chat. I'm going to move on to the next question. We'll just have 2 people answer this because we've got tons of questions. My parents still tell me what to do, bracket, not to guide me, but dictate my movement. So this person must feel na they are they're being obviously dictated, in their words, dictated. Even in my adulthood phase, how do I tell my parents that it's time for me to practice responsible decision making?
May hugot ah.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at somebody in the audience. Okay. Claire. Uy, may hugot na. Okay. Guys, safe place to answer. It's anonymous naman. So this is a I'm not sorry. Yeah, this is two people, if you'd like to chime in, who has experience now with dealing with a family member or a parent in this case.
My story does not resonate with it because
Okay.
I had to, pass the
Okay.
ball.
Any one or two?
I personally did not experience it, but again, I think just trying theoretically, putting myself in your shoes. One, assume positive intent. I come from a parent hat, and I think if parents do that, it's really because they're looking out for you. So assume positive intent when they do that. But parents are not perfect, and parents need to be, especially if you feel like you're adult enough, and you believe that your parents are coming from a place of good intent, have the courage to share your heart with them. Again, respectfully, saying where you're coming from, where you and be specific. I think for parents, we need you don't talk to us in broad strokes. What is the issue? Give me an example. Ground me where you're coming from. That could help. So if like you say, Mom, this time where I wanted to do this, but you were insisting your way, I felt like I wasn't empowered. And I feel like at this age, I need you to trust me that I can make a decision, la la la. It might not be a one discussion that will change your parents' attitude altogether, but have continuing conversation, catch and correct. I think if in the moment you feel something can be better, lovingly bring to your parents' attention. But also, you have to prove that you're worthy of their trust. So I think it goes both ways. You can't just ask for more freedom without demonstrating that you're capable to deliver on the responsibilities.
Thank you. Okay, that's just to like play devil's advocate. What if they don't understand? What if they like bite back like, why are you talking back to me? Why are you telling me all these things? Which is a case na some of us do experience with a bit like
Yes, parents who are not willing to communicate.
yeah. You guys are most of us in the panel is parent or parent to be.
Turn to be agad. Pass game, sir. Wow.
Future parent to be. Sorry, Alan. Nothing. Yeah. I forgot where am I going. Lagod niya. Sorry, I lost my trail of thought.
Okay.
But you know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean, right? Yeah. How? Do you have to sayang first, like, mommy?
Again, for me, one advice, check the tone. Usually it's not, the tone and the message are equally important. You could be saying the right thing, but delivering in the wrong tone, and that can rile up your parents. So check lang then. Again, be how do you say?
Aware.
Reflective, aware.
Yeah.
Baka din naman there's something in your tone that's so combative that makes the parent combative too. Second, ask them, can I set coffee date with you and Ate Nina and Kuya Elmer? Yeah, seriously, you also have your church family. Sometimes you feel like you also need some of your titos and titas to talk some sense to your parents. Maybe that's a resource that you
These services are being offered here.
Libre pa yun, ha?
No, but it's real. I mean, they're offering it. If someone is offering to be a mediator, take that chance.
But Lisa, in the level of escalation naman, save that for a later stage. Don't naman say in the moment, okay, I'm gonna text somebody. Okay, but I think, to be honest, a big part of it could also be just the tone by which you deliver it or wait for the proper timing. That's one possibility.
It's not what you said, it's how you said it. It's always
Okay. Thank you po. We will move on now. So that's for answering also honestly then of how you experience tackling God's will in your career and this question about parents, which also, by the way, is somebody voted then for this question to be answered. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, our next question has to deal with burnout. So some of us are already burned out in this room. It's very hot in this room. Question is, how do you deal with burnout when you feel like you don't have the time to burn out?
I was actually just talking to Ate Nina about it because I was sitting at the side while everybody was playing. Actually, the whole entire day I was kind of like just aimlessly like listening to people talking to me and I'm responding, but at the same time I'm just like, my job, even from LaSalle and now currently, is very, very physically taxing and also vocal-wise very, very taxing. I have rehearsals. My shows start at 8 a.m. And then it ends around in the day. I have straight away go straight to to another rehearsal. That will go up to until 7, and then maybe a meeting until 10, something like that. Once in a while, I do spend some time with some friends bouldering and stuff like that. But those are the pockets of time. Those are the nights that I don't really have anything. But other than that, throughout the week, there's always something to do. So this entire 2 weeks or so, I've been on the go. I don't have a weekend. I don't have a break. When I come meet them, it's like we're already in the wee hours of the night, right? I guess, how do you deal with it? Many ways. For me, what I do is I like to actually do my quiet times in the bus rides, in the taxis, in the traveling, and then for example, if you're unable to do it, right? Like for me, when we're in a church and we have commitments and we have things going on, I think it's totally okay to just sit at the side. Nobody's going to be like, "Oh, you're not joining us," or you're not. It's okay to step back. It's also okay to not be part of the fun for a while. I don't know. I became an introvert when I met Alan. A bit more introverted. I tend to be quieter, and I cherish that part of my personality now. So yeah, I think and when there's no pockets of time, just take those little like taxi rides, those bus rides as part of your rest. Yeah.
The question was, if you don't have time for burnout, burnout or high amount of stress, I guess if we classify it as burnout, right? Burnout, we don't choose our burnouts. The burnouts choose you. There's no perfect time for it. the fact that it's called a burnout, it comes at the worst time. It's when you have a lot on your plate and a lot of people are looking at you, and like you're the lead in a dance drama, and then you have exams and everything and all that and piling up, and it just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. For me, I go back to my safe space. I for the sake, in danger of sounding so holy, I just go back to God. And by go back to God, I don't like. You could be like Jai, super studious, and then like what, one verse, 10 translations. But for me, maybe 5. I exaggerate. But for me, my time with God, it's just clear. It's just me venting out, like a la David, but less lyrical. Like God,
Without the language.
oh, like ano ba?
Yeah.
God,
Yeah, I totally understand.
God.
Yeah.
And then God asked me, shut up, and that's why now I'm into running, because it's horrible sometimes, but when I run, I'm like, okay,
Clear.
and then it clears, and every breath that I make, then God sometimes will speak to you. Hey, dude, I gave you that. Then after that moment of clarity, I'm like, and I sit down, like, who's controlling my life? Is it me? Am I controlling my life? Or is the work controlling my life? Or is God controlling my life? I think we all have to reach that decision. When you're really up to your neck, what you have to let go of something or
Yes,
someone.
actually, yeah. You have to learn how to say no.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cannot just like, oh, I'm very good at this. I'll take everything. Then
Yeah.
it's.
Most of you are brilliant people. I know. I've seen you. Oh, sounds so Tito. I've seen you in youth. I've seen you grow up. I've seen you like, oh wow, that girl can sing. Then from special number to every day to to every special event, every week now, everything like up to there.
Yeah.
Up to there. We know naman how studying is in Singapore. We know how stressful work is in Singapore. We gotta ask ourselves, who's controlling our life? And this one I like to do. What's the worst that can happen? They fire you. You go cray, or they fire you. That's to me. But yeah, before you go crazy, before you get somebody fired, yourself fired, go back to your core principle. You go back to God, to your safe space. He did promise a lighter load. Yeah, it might seem impossible or dubious, but yeah, that worked for me. I'm not sure. I hope it works for you.
Thank you, Robin and KJ. Actually, this does tie in with mental health, because burnout is one of those things that our generation and many generations before and after will continue to experience. It's important that we learn how to deal with it, not keep it kept in our hearts for many years, and you don't want to erupt into a volcano and explode on someone. So it's important in the name of mental health and rest, learning to say no. Sometimes it's hard because of FOMO, but sometimes.
What's the worst that could happen?
At most you missed this party, you missed this event, you missed this climb that day that you really wanted to go but couldn't go because you have work, stuff like that. So yeah, it's important. Sometimes we have to let go of something or someone, but you never. So someone. Yes. But it's step one is to acknowledge that you need to rest.
Oh, can I also add, seek help. There's no shame.
Oh yeah.
Like, I can already.
Right.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah, help
There is
me.
no shame in.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next question. I think this question Tito Mark would like to hear from you. How do I know if I should persevere in my current job or leave? I guess the context maybe this job is very hard, very boring. The fact that you have to persevere in your work. Should I persevere or should I leave? How do I know?
I think this is already partially answered earlier when I mentioned guardrails, and then he mentioning some two kinds of things that if done then he will live, right? So why would you persevere? He mentioned also that the worst thing that can happen to you is get you fired, right? So it comes down to what is it really that you want to happen for yourself, right? Do you really want to stay on, and can you really do something about it? If that's something that you can, if there's something that you can do something about it, then maybe or like talk to your boss, talk to your team. You can start with proper communication, good communication. If it really cannot be done that way, you can escalate it to the next higher management. But again, if you will just if you see no end to it, then yeah, I think you have to really sit down, go somewhere, and then really think about it. Do you really have to persevere? Because again, it comes back to the mental health situation, right? It's also part of being burnout. You don't want to be burnout because burning out is really good. That's something that you really don't want to be in that situation. Although people would really want to go and try to really I can still do it. I can still persevere, but in the end, they're already burnout means it refers to a candle, right? A candle can only light up so much until the last wick, but burning out is even burning, even though you don't have the wick anymore, or you don't have the oil candle anymore. So if you reach that point already, I think you already passed that turning point. You should know when to turn back. You should know when to stop. All right. So yeah, I think put some guardrails in your life. What will be your guiding principle, right? What passage of the Bible would be leading you towards a good, proper decision? Right? You talk to your parents, talk to your colleagues, talk to professional help, of course. There's really nothing stopping you from doing that, but try as much possible not to burn out, and if you're really in that point wherein you're asking yourself, why am I still persevering? There's really nothing more. I think it's you reach that tipping point, and you really have to stop and then think about it seriously. Yep.
I can build on that. Again, go back to the why. Why do you want to leave? I honestly think because I'm no longer happy is not a valid excuse to leave. God does not, our happiness is not God's priority. It's about character formation. So maybe ask first, what is God developing in me in this season? Also think of life in seasons. Not because you're unhappy in your career means you will forever be unhappy. And then back to Mark's point, think about what's within my circle of control. What is within my power to change? If it's your boss passing you feel like, I want to leave because I'm just overloaded. Is there anything you can do about it? Is the option of saying no? Have you tapped into that? Is the option of asking for more resources? Have you tapped into that? If you can honestly say you've exhausted everything within your circle of control or even of influence, then I think that's when you can start thinking about leaving. But I honestly think there is no job that will be always happy 100% of the time. There is no job that will not have boring days. There is no perfect job, unfortunately. It's the hard truth. And so if you always are just after your happiness and feeling 100% high all the time, you will always be leaving. So again, ask God, what are you molding in me in this season? And again, from somebody who stayed on for 17 years. I'm not telling you it's been a happy 17 years. For the most part, it has been. But there were days I had the toughest boss. A boss who scolded me, talaga like giving me a dressing down on my birthday. And on that day, I wanted to leave. Like, I deserve better. But then you don't make decisions when you're either extremely happy or extremely sad. So even part of that, balancing emotions with logic. I mean, even thinking, God, what are you teaching in this season of my life? So for me, I guess I come more from the perspective of there is a lot of value in persevering unless the Lord clearly opens a door or clearly shuts a door that says it's time to move.
Thank you. Just to share my experience, in university, sometimes it feels like that. Because when I entered into NTU, it was like, wow, my favorite course, learning about engineering. From year 1 to year 3, it was so hard. I'm sure some of you can resonate with how it's so difficult. You don't understand what they're saying. You don't understand the topic. You have 6-7 finals. You don't understand any of them. You're cramming. You're burning the midnight oil. After the exam, you have no idea what happened. You're so dazed, and then the next semester starts. And one time I was having a lunch with one of my study friends. I was just ranting to him, like, I feel like I don't even know why I'm in this course. What's the point of university? And he's like, I agree, but I think maybe it's not about the lectures and the tutorials, but it's about persevering. Maybe uni is about growing and persevering through these challenges. Prof, don't understand what you're saying, stuff like that. Then actually, like, oh yeah, maybe, because it's different in a job. At a job, you may have an opportunity to leave, but sometimes school is a bit, especially when you're paying for the school and it's for you're investing in a degree for your future. It's not so easy to just drop out of school. It can become complicated. So I thought, yeah, maybe persevering at sometimes in some situations is necessary. It's the necessary thing that we have to do. Thank you for the answers.
Actually, I just want to
yes,
add, that's actually a very sobering. This question is very sobering for a lot of us, because I forgot where I read this, but I've read some. I forgot where I read this. Anyway, parang they're saying that millennials and Gen Zs, we don't stay in a job for very long, and we often job hop because we're unsatisfied. They say we're the most unsatisfied generation. I think it's also because we're looking for more purpose-driven kind of work. But at the same time, like you said, that this is I like what came up was God's priority is not your happiness, but your character development, and that could happen in anywhere you are technically. So, thank you for just sharing them your experiences on this matter. So anyway, we're moving on to personal perspectives in career.
Yeah, all right, personal perspective. Okay, this question, it's an interesting question. I think some of us may really like this question. The question is, how do you balance being ambitious in your career versus being content with where you are? In other words, is working hard toward a promotion okay, or is that me not being content?
Okay. I think the question is more about whether you should be greedy or not. When you become greedy to getting or climbing the ladder, or you should just stay in your position, right? Again, it goes back to your principle, right? What do you really? Why do you need a job? Why are you pursuing this career, right? And what is God trying to what's this? What does God wants you to do when you are in this kind of situation? Right, so let me see. Because as I mentioned earlier, my job, I've been into most of my jobs are mostly 5 years, and then the last one is 10 years. But in those time, I never really tried to climb the ladder. I just stayed on one single position. But it doesn't matter that it doesn't mean that I didn't want to go high. Okay, it's just that my purpose is to be able to provide for my family. That's my purpose for having the job. So I'm just trying to maintain whatever I can and still be able to save, right? But if your character or your mentality wants to go higher, of course you can. There's no harm in doing that, as long as you are still within the guidelines that of your faith, right? If you are going beyond, if you're doing something bad or something that is no longer considered good, just to be able to attain such kind of a different level or higher level, then again you're now being greedy, or you're now outside of the good boundary. So.
Sorry, I've been talking a lot, so please stop me. The next question I will shut my mouth. But I just feel like, because I come from a corporate background, and where I think this is more pronounced, yung parang just climbing the ladder. So I honestly struggled with this question. I might have typed that question myself too. Because parang at least my idea of a dog-eat-dog world, for you to climb up, you have to do things like you suck up to your boss, you sort of like try to position yourself as the best thing. But that might not necessarily be accurate. Sorry, it's a very long-winded answer. I think it's okay, you can do both, but goes back to the why. Why do you want to progress in your career? If your answer is so that I can feel more important, I will have a fancier title, I'll have a bigger paycheck, check your heart. Because again, that's like following, could there be gods you're putting up in your life, or you're chasing after what you think is going to be your happiness? Check your heart if that's your motivation. What would be a valid motivation to want to progress in your career? Because Lord, I feel like I can make a greater impact. If I become a people manager, like maybe you're an individual contributor, I really want to be a people manager because I want you, Lord, to use me to be a more positive influence to more people. I think there's nothing wrong with that. Or Lord, I think I want to get into a global career. And this is me speaking from when I started out more than a decade working within the Philippines. And then I thought I was so content. I didn't want to sacrifice ministry. We were so active in Win Alabang that time. And the Lord seemed to open a door to go global. And I'm like, Lord, is it wrong if I do this? What is the motivation behind this? And I think the Lord, for me, I want you to grow, step out of your comfort zone, because Philippines is now a comfort zone for you. And wanting to, maybe to climb the ladder as a way to trust God more. Because Lord, I know you're pushing me. There's more that you can do in and through me. I think that's a valid reason. So again, it goes back to your why. But check your heart. If the why is, I want a fancier title, I want a bigger paycheck. Not all the time a bigger paycheck is a wrong thing. Sometimes it could be a practical thing, and we'll get to that. But if the major motivator are these external worldly measures of success, watch out.
Thank you. Because sometimes we could fall into this endless pursuit of things that we just want for ourselves, and if it's not within the guardrails and the principles that the Bible has for us, then we could risk just going on an endless spree, and no job will satisfy, no position will
Because
satisfy.
nothing, you will just,
It's never enough.
to the Mars also cannot.
Wait, what?
Tesla also cannot. Mars, I said Mars.
What?
Next question.
Okay, next question. Okay, this is an interesting question. Should I go for a practical career or pursue my passion?
Uy, may ano.
All right. Okay.
Jay.
There is some engagement here.
Yeah,
Okay.
and this is one of the top voted
Top
questions.
voted. One of the top voted.
Can you select who to answer?
Like, who do you want to answer, guys?
Why? My career practical. I don't know. No, okay. Yes, it is my passion. But in Singapore, unfortunately, it is also not the most practical because you cannot survive in Singapore with such a high lifestyle here. With all these things, like for example, adulting. One is I'm getting married, and sooner or later, future-wise, I'm gonna get a family or something like that. There's house to think about, bills to think about. All this as a performer, unless you're part of an agency and they can constantly get you work, it's not practical. So I have my passion and I am investing in it and I am pursuing it. And then there's also a practical one, which is Meow Me, which is me working in a cat hotel. It's funny because before that I'm an educator, so I also teach kids, and I've taught kids for the longest time. I also actually went into teaching full time and not do any arts for like about 3 years, just teaching talaga. Yes, there's an element of performing there. There's an element of drama and speech there, but it wasn't fully something I would consider as talagang my passion, right? Really like just acting, singing, dancing. It didn't really, I felt like there was still something that was calling me to the arts, and so I battled again between passion and practicality. But that's part of adulting, right? You're going to grow up and you're going to face all these factors in your life, and you're going to go through all these decisions that you have to make. And it's sometimes it's not for yourself. Like for example, Kuya has to provide for his family. I'm gonna be married to Alan, and we're gonna do a lot of, we're gonna have to decide on a lot of things.
Do a lot of family. Do a lot of things.
Yeah. So then that helps you with the decision, and that's what helped me with my decision. And so, I did get a little burnt out from my teaching, because my teaching is not a very traditional teach. It's not just stand in the front and teach. It's really movement wise and music wise. And then I go out and do some performing. So I decided to quit that and go to work with a cat hotel, because I recently adopted a cat, and so I fell in love with the cats, and that I found a nice place. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's possible to still find practicality and find joy in the practicality. Your passion, you feel like maybe you would have not pursued your passion, but in your work it could form as it could be a passion of yours as well. It just happens to maybe if it's a door open for you, then practical and passion can come together. So that's my take about it.
Perhaps a follow-up question open to anyone. How do I find fulfillment in my work when it's so boring, when it's mundane?
Yeah. Somebody in the audience is making
Yeah.
note that Titus is pointing to Mo.
You have to note it.
Because the camera cannot see.
Oh yeah, what happened to safe space?
Go ahead.
My job is actually a desktop support engineer. So what entails is if there's a user who needs help with laptops, computers, Windows, my job is to fix it, try to resolve it, right? So the fulfillment in my work is to be able to help and make sure that that customer that the problem is resolved and she's happy as she leaves the place, right? So I think how do you find fulfillment for my case? As part of my job, the fulfillment that I get is that, okay, the customer is happy, I'm able to resolve the problem. She's happy, whether she reports it as she gives me positive or negative feedback, as long as she that the problem is resolved, she's happy about it, then I'm happy, I'm fulfilled. That's one phase of the problem or of my job, because the other phase is the back end, which is to detail the issues, to report it, and then have to create reports. But I find fulfillment in knowing that the customer is happy, and that keeps me in doing the same thing every day over for many years already. So you have to find happiness in the things that you're doing in your career, so that you will last and you will be able to persevere. Hopefully persevere is a positive one, not a negative connotation. Yeah.
I guess for me, backtrack a little bit. Boring or practical or passion. After JC, after Army, I applied for NUS and NTU, and thank God I don't know what happened to them. They accepted me, both, but for different courses. One was FASS, Faculty of Arts and Social Science, and one is engineering. One that I felt like, wow, let's do this. Social sciences, probably no money, but let's do this. And then you have an engineer, which is Singapore. Singapore is like, you want who? Like you throw one coin, you probably hit like 20 engineers out of like 25. Especially if you go to TUAS, unfortunately. But I chose the practical side. Looking back now, it wasn't so much practical or impractical. Back then, it was money or no money. And honestly, I regretted it.
That's why I no money now.
I didn't have.
RJ, you learn.
Yeah, find the middle ground. Yeah. But I think I regretted it not because that it's a bad choice. I regretted it because I based my choice on the wrong why. I'm more interested in all of us kind of looking back, like, why am I taking this job? Is it because it's paying more, or is it because it's paying in other ways? It's allowing me to do things that are different. That's why at the start about ambitious or I know I really tried to think about it. I tried to reflect on my mistakes, because I made a lot, and one of them is that I chose money over something else that I would have probably contributed more. But God's so good that He even used my wrong choices to lead me to, to still not, I would think that I live a very blessed life. Now, so when we weigh, do I want practical or do we want passion? I hope it's not money or no money. Because every time we choose money, it's probably going to be the wrong choice. At that point. I'm saying this as a dad. Okay? I know my wife is a, high roller, but I've got 2 kids that I adore and I want to give them the best. And when I think about money or no money, I'm still grappling with it. I'm still grappling with it. Even I let out a little bit earlier, like I'm thinking, oh, should I quit because I want to do something else and there's something impressing my heart and I'm really trying to discover it. And I don't want it to go back to money or no money because of what I learned in practical or impractical. I went to uni. I almost flunked out of uni in NTU, but then God was so good, like, oh yeah, I still give you a degree. And then I worked for like 6-7 years, and then I went to teacher college. And in teacher college, no, not boasting about myself, but about God, I excelled. I would say that I was awesome in teacher college compared to how bad I was in NTU. And it definitely not because I kept skipping lectures and stuff, but I just feel like each one of us, we have a personality fit. What might be boring to Titus is not boring to Mo, or somebody else. Like looking at Excel might be exciting for some, or maybe we take away the excitingness. There's a fit that we find. Like, hey, this is me, or this suits me, and I feel like that's more important than money or no money, or practical and impractical. So yeah, go be a cat meat. I don't know what meow. But I guess it's Nina answered it earlier about how do we find fulfillment in something boring. Fulfillment is not found in emotional highs. Yeah. Because I could go in and then like, wow, I taught a brilliant like lesson in class, and then they're like, wow, Mr. Roy, you're such a good teacher. And then I'm like, wow, this is it, this is me, this is how it's supposed to be. Then I go next week, you suck, Mr. Roy. Then how? Then you mean I'm staying until so late? I'm marking work while my kids are sleeping. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. and then you come out and tell me that I suck. No, you suck. No, no, not vindictive. But yeah, but it should be the why.
Yeah,
it has to be driven by.
Can I add? I mean, my job, it seems like, oh, I'm in the arts industry and all that, but actually it's so seasonal that sometimes I don't even get anything for like months on end. So the pandemic totally like erased all kinds of performing and stuff. And I did have the urge to really just, Lord, I'm just gonna be in a stable job. Like, yeah. I'm just saying, like, it's again, yeah, like Kuya said, it's really money or no money. I would like, if the Lord's really calling me to something, because when I actually wanted to be full-time na in the Cat Hotel or wherever it was, I was telling Ate May over lunch, like, oh yeah, full-time, I'm about to like sign a contract already. The next thing I know, COVID, like, oh, better already. Like, oh no, I was in tug of war again, and I, prayed and prayed and prayed and really talked to people, and I was like, never mind, part-time. Yeah, and that again takes money away from it, from the equation. Like, more part-time means less money, but then there's like a place where I can make a difference, or I can be part of something, and then the Lord is really like working with me and my classmates and all that, and just it's something I think just talk to Lord, talk to God. Sorry,
I said I'm gonna shut my mouth. I just have to say this, please. Quickly. Career is not your sole source of fulfillment. If you ask me, I'm 60% fulfilled in my job, but that's okay because I get 40% filled up in ministry, in my PTF mommy folks. I get it from being a family woman, and that's fine. I'm at peace at that. Work brings food to the table. I'm 60% passionate about it. There are days I just want to get this Excel. Like, I wish it would hang and I'd excuse for not doing my job. But it's okay, because then I know I don't have to depend on my job to give me all the fulfillment in the world. So that's also another perspective to take.
Thank you so much. Yeah, work is work. Sometimes we all need hobbies. Yes, that help complete us.
Like climb.
Shameless plug. Join us for
Safe space. All right.
Now we'll try to squeeze into maybe a few more questions, and then we'll open to the floor. Right. Okay. So we're going to the next segment, which is just one question po: passive income and career. So it's about do you have a side hustle? And if you don't, why not? That's
If
our
you
next
have,
question.
what is it? Yes,
Yes,
that's the
yes,
question.
yes, yes. Like,
You know tuition agencies. Yeah, tuition. I'll tell you straight. My rate's $80 per hour. Yeah.
Just consider it.
I mean, if I were to teach a student just by themselves, it could be 80 on 70, 80, something like that. I don't have one. Because I've come to realize that money can earn one. Money can earn. What do I value? Do I value time? Do I value, education? And that's something that I wrestle with, because I hear my colleagues and they do like what, can you imagine just teaching two hours a month, a week, and then your paycheck has a few thousand for maybe in the thing more than me. And I hear that and I see that, and it's possible, but I don't do that because my why is different. As a dad, and I want to be involved. God has given me the opportunity to be involved in ministry. If I do that thing for 2 hours or more on a weekend, it takes me away 2 hours away from doing what I think is worth more than that. So again, it's the why. However, I do understand why people do it. I do understand why people need to do it. My dad used to do it. I saw him working, and he would take in contracts from friends and whatnot, and then he would look through, and then he would get it done. He had to do it. I think I look around the room, I'm blessed to say that most of us, we don't have that need. Not all of us have that need. We don't have a family waiting for us who, isang kayo, isang tuka kind of thing. Like you don't have anybody who would go hungry if you don't side hustle. And my dad had to side hustle because we were always on the run. My dad's so good in this sense na, well, good and weird at the same time. We were of a certain age, and he would show us the monthly budget, and we would always be in the red. Most of I say always, but there was a time talaga that we would constantly in the red. But then God would give these side hustles to my dad. That would tide us over. So I understand why. But at the same time, I personally don't. I've been blessed to be able not to do a side hustle, because then I can contribute my thing. Now I always ask this to your Ate May. We're so blessed. What are we then doing with our blessing? So instead of side hustles, I know how much it charges outside the tuition. So what I do is I give free. It's not a side hustle because that's part of my why. I want to educate people who need it. And I do it because it aligns with my why. And your why in your young career could very well be, I'm saving up so that I can further my studies later on. I get it. But the more important is the why. And whether yes or no depends on what you're looking for. I know AJ had to do the acting and the theater and something else because she's an adult. She's going to get married. She needs to, stand on her own 2 feet. And I get that. So whether you need it, then the question then comes to me, can I still use my phone if I have a cracked screen? Yes, what? I don't have to buy. But if our why is that not so blatantly about money, but more like I want to keep up with the Joneses. I want to go. I don't, after you watch Gold Class, how many of you watch Gold Class? Theater don't, because you get hooked. I went to watch Gold Class, I watched, I think way back when, like Avatar, like in the movies. Whoa, dude, Gold Class is something else. But then, do I really need that? And hence, if my why is to be able to accept, to go for all such things, or go on exotic holidays and whatnot, and I will do things that will contribute to my why. So what is your why? I think that would be that's my decision making. I'm not asking you to make it yours. That's mine.
As I was introduced earlier, I'm a professional open-minded. Okay, so I'm always not really always, but I've been into a stage wherein I've been asked, am I open-minded, and I said yes. Then they have to invite me to a room similar to this one, and then you will say the power.
Power, yeah.
Yeah. So they will ask you to, they'll tell you the stories of how they become from rags to riches stories, how they earned that kind of lot or that kind of car. Of course, you will be enticed. It's a good promise, but technically, and then to be able to join, you have to pay a hefty amount of money, and then that's not the end of it. After paying, you also have to work to be able to gain more people under your level, right? So MLM, multi-level marketing. So I've been scammed, or I don't want to call it scam, but because the thing is, I was not wise enough to really discern whether this company is true to their objective or mission or not, or whether they will do it properly. Because not all MLMs are bad. There are some MLM or similar companies that are still thriving, or they are really good, or they're still doing well. But again, side hustles, I don't have one, but I'm more into investments. I'm looking into how can I make this money that I save work for me instead of I work for the money. You will hear this a lot of times when you will be invited into financial discussions. Do you want to work for the money, or do you want your money to work for you, right? So of course we want the money to work for us, but do it in a way that to invest into something, you don't have to borrow money, because if that investment fails, then you still have to pay for the money that you borrowed, right? Then in the end, you'll end up losing. So as the younger you are, you try to save up and then try to invest into really legal means of profiting or gaining more savings. Bank is there to save. It is not really to grow your money, right? Bank is really only for saving your money. It's good to save for the purpose of saving, but it's also good to take a part of that money and then invest it into several portfolios. You don't just invest into one line of business or industry, because one industry cannot really is not good enough. What if that industry suddenly fails? Then you get nothing again, right? So you have to dispense it. You have to divide it into different portfolios, and as much possible that into portfolios or industries that you are passionate about. At least you will know what is happening into that industry, right? Instead of you're into arts and you're investing into math industry, then what do you know about math, correct? Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Kuya, for
Yes, thank you.
But
answering
it's
that.
good if you will invest in both. At least if both succeed, then you're successful. But most likely both will not fail at the same time.
Very good.
Okay, thank you po. So we're sort of pressed for time. So we're now going to go to workplace dynamics. Then from there po, if you'd like to chime in with your questions, it's now. The time is now. Now's the time. Okay, just
Right.
yeah. go ahead.
Workplace dynamics. That's the new this next category of questions. So, okay, this is a good question. How do you deal with office politics in the workplace? And what will you do if a colleague of yours takes advantage of you or take credit for your work?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Similar to the sermon, no, I think.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's also answer in the sphere of difficult managers as well. So
Yes, office politics. How
Go.
do you deal with it?
maybe just two of you.
Again, I'll qualify. I speak from a corporate, multinational background. Office politics to me means it's not enough that you're good. You need to know people. So for me, I struggled with that. When I was working in the Philippines, I didn't have to worry. Like, my track record spoke for myself. When I moved to a global role, I realized it's completely different. It's not enough that you're good. You need to make people know that you're good. You need to be connected to the right people. That for me is what office politics meant. How did I deal with that? Obviously, it was very uncomfortable. And you'd see, I mean, just to be very upfront about backgrounds, so we come from an Asian culture where it's about, hierarchies, it's about, respect hard work. Obviously, people from a Western background don't care about the hierarchies as much. And it's working to their advantage, was my feeling. Was like, people like us, we sir, ma'am, at least in the Philippines, your boss. Here, people call each other by their first names. And even just getting to the level where I'm comfortable to call my boss's boss's boss by his first name was like so cringy. But that's the truth, and that's where I operate. So am I violating any biblical principle by learning how to network better? I don't think so. So my learning is there are some things to thrive in the office workplace where there are some muscles you need to flex. And for me, networking was a muscle I needed to flex. What that meant was I had to be very conscious in a week to block time, 30 minutes, catch up, Janina/whoever person. Even if we don't deal with each other on our day job, I need that person to know what I do. And I also need to know what they do, what are the opportunities in their space. And that's what it needed to thrive in our environment. So now, that's how I cope with it. So as long as it's not breaking any principles, even though it meant it was very uncomfortable for me, I had to flex the muscles. I needed to get some mentors. I need to reach out to a Filipino who's managed to move her way around. How did you do it? Because I need to ask, we come from a Filipino background. How do you break some of the self-limiting beliefs that could hold us back? And for me, getting a mentor to help me deal with that politics was very helpful for me. That's
Thank
very
you.
specific.
That's
Yeah.
super intentional. Very
That's
good.
that's great.
Perhaps one more?
I guess in Singapore, we're born and bred to competition. We've been banded since we were primary 4, banded again in primary 6, banded again in Sec 2, banded again in Sec 4. It's so prevalent in our society that when we go to the corporate world, before I became a teacher, I was also in a global MNC. And again, I was a part of the graduate trainees or the management trainees. And of course, when you are part of the management trainees, there are other management trainees with you. And the bosses are all looking at each and every one of your staff and your interactions with them and how you perform your work. And unfortunately, I've been, I wouldn't say a victim, but I've seen peers who since we're all performing the same way and they want to progress, there's going to be certain things that they do, and in Singapore we're I think a society like thrives in complaining, and inevitably these complaints will turn to a person, and I've had complaints pointed towards me. I know, right? Think about it. Like, just yeah, but there's a lot. Even now. But yeah, so long story short, how I cope with that, I'm going to be honest, I didn't cope quite well when it happened. I got vindictive, I got really pissed, went to my boss, hey, what did that guy tell you? I, like, no shame, I went, hey, so-and-so, what did that guy tell you about me? And then let me tell you, blah, 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 blah. And like reflecting, oh my goodness, I became like them. And I forgot my identity. And some of you know this, I'm huge on identity. At that point, my identity changed, and I assumed the identity of somebody who wanted more, rather than a Christian who happened to be a management trainee, or a Christian who managed to be a middle manager, at that point. And yeah, I didn't handle it well, but I kind of recovered. Strangely, God made an opportunity for us to kind of have to work together, myself and the complainer. So they put two complainees together, and then I had to come clean. I told them, hey, I heard about what you told about my boss. I heard what you told my boss about me. Then he denied. I said, chill, man. I'm not judging you because I did the same thing. And I just said, I'm sorry, and it happens. So how I handled it was badly. How I hope to handle it next time. And you know what? Teachers are also getting ranked. In teaching, there are grades, and right now I'm very close to the people around the same grade. And each financial year before it closes, all the bosses, all the HODs will all sit down there. It's like the weakest link, and then they'll rank us. Shit. Somebody has to have a D. Somebody has to A. It's normalized. Like PSLE. I hate it, but it is. So, again, it's not so much sometimes what you do. It's who you know, and what you do with this person. Now, as an educator, I try to walk the talk. I tell my children, work hard, be honest with yourself, keep your conscience clean. It might not work out for you today, but it's going to work out for you in the long term. And as Christians, same thing. Work on it, be honest with it. It might not work out today. It might not even work out until you die. But it'll work out when, it matters.
Thanks, Kuya.
Yeah.
So we'll open the question to the floor now. Fire away. Anything that you'd like to ask them to elaborate on, or something that wasn't answered, because there's a few that we were not able to answer. Feel free to ask. Gip.
I have one actually. It's pertaining to the question kanina about the burnout. How long is a healthy time frame to give yourself to recover from that burnout? Because sometimes, for myself naman, it's like, oh, I'm burnt out, But then after a while, like, am I really burnt out or am I getting lazy na? So yeah.
I'll qualify as this is not a medical professional opinion. This is like completely, personal. And just to I don't think I've ever reached a point where I say I was sincerely burnt out. So to share my context as I answer this question. But I think like every day that you make progress, like your goal is not to move from 0 to 100 straight away, even if it means moving every day from 0 to 0.5 to 1 to 1.5. I think that's the goal. And for me, I think maybe what has been preemptive, that's why I did not get to the burnout, is having the healthy routine. So like, whether you don't feel like it yet, but force yourself to do a 30-minute workout. Because science would also prove when you work out, you release all sorts of good endorphins or whatever things in your body, it helps. Even if you don't feel like it, journal. And not even just from a biblical perspective. There's a whole this thing around mindfulness and just putting down in paper what troubles you. It's like, I think, the small steps. And therefore, I wouldn't wait for like the right season to feel like I'm better. But it's like making the conscious choice every day. What can I do now to move me even just a 0.5% closer? I know that doesn't answer the question completely, but I think just one way to frame the burnout question.
More questions?
Give you a question.
Carry. This, then, that, then.
I don't ask you, I give you a question.
They got this working.
Yeah, homework.
Hey, how do you do this? There's something.
Okay, guys. I have the situation where I think it's a new company. I think the line of business is fairly new, so they just got restructured, and so this line of business is fairly new. I'm technically directly underneath the CTO. of the company.
IT level.
But it's not that. But doesn't mean that I'm a high positioning or anything like. It just means that my reporting officer is immediately the CTO now. The issue here is that so whenever I ask my boss for like the context of what we're doing, it's always not clear on what he wants to do. It's like he tends to micromanage all the people around him, and it rubs off really bad actually on all the people around him. So I was like, maybe it's just me complaining as a new graduate, like maybe feeling a little bit self-entitled that like why do I feel like my CTO doesn't know what he's doing or what he's supposed to be doing. Okay, so I try to go at least around of the same level as me, at least in the same floor, and the issue is that they have the same like complaint as what I have, which comforts me in a way that okay, maybe I think my judgment at least on what is maybe has something into it. Might not be 100% correct, pero has something to it. So how would you suggest that I go about with I don't know, do I tell my boss or do I just leave it be? I don't know, because I kind of agree with the complaints and whatnot. So
The question is how to deal with incompetent boss.
With empathy. with hear me out. With empathy. The higher you go, right? And I not to boast, but when I started everything like, hey, why so dumb? Like, why? There must be a better way. There must be a better way. Why can't they do this? Why can't they do this? But as you go up, right? Your boss is of a super high position.
Yeah,
you acknowledge that. And unfortunately, maybe I'm not totally sure, but your department occupies 2% of his brain. So yes, he might fail your department because he has so many other bigger fishes to fry. So I was like that until I got given a bigger project, and then I hear the same thing about me. I'm managing certain things that I know, but as I go up, doesn't mean I'm fully an expert. I don't know everything. There's going to be a department or a group of people. At that time, I was overseeing R&D, and we had procurement, we had the deliveries, we had the foremen, we had the operators. I've never operated a machine before. I've never procured anybody from the shipment and all that. It takes a lot for that I'm a small fry, and for a bigger boss to actually get the handle of everything, it takes a lot. So my advice, Mo, be Christian about it. You approach it with empathy. Be pissed that he doesn't know what, but separate that wrong decision to that person. Because the tricky part is he makes a wrong decision, you label him as incompetent. He makes a wrong decision, he's so dumb. How can he earn so much? Has those thoughts enter your head?
Yes.
Right.
Safe space.
Right. You go up. Let's say in a pastor, in a church. I can't imagine Pastor Butch knowing everything that has to do with ushers. And if he makes a wrong decision about ushering, I think you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. From the good, his intention is making it right, but it's not the right thing. Does that make him, ill to be a pastor? Because those are the thoughts that will enter your head. He's ill-fitting to be a CTO. He should know this. Those thoughts will enter. So I think you should go by the proper channels. If there's an email that you can do, and I want to talk about this with the parents part, talking to your parents. Tone is everything, and I get quite animated also. I want Maybelline to be my girlfriend. No, I message. If there's a pathway, your yearly review could be the best time for you to talk about it. He's your direct boss. You have your reviews. That's the time. Don't shy. Don't call him incompetent. Tell him, approach it like, I know you have a lot of things in your head. I know your position's like, 10 layers of me. But right now, I think there's a better way. Oh my goodness. Hopefully, I pray that, when a boss says, there's a better way, come tell me. They rise up, unless, of course, some shady things. They rise up because they were the ones coming up with good solutions also. You might be the next one. Don't forget me, okay? No, but you have good ones. Use the proper channels. Use your reviews. Talk about it. What's the worst that can happen? You go to Google. Yes.
Maybe just a slightly differing view. I mean, agreed proper channels reviews, but maybe just to push it a bit further. Not sure about your company culture, but some companies can take it immediate catch and correct. When you say, can I have 30 minutes with you on Monday? Let's have coffee just for a feedback session and make it two-way. We don't always assume he's the dumb one. We might also have some gaps. That would also be a good time to catch. I don't know if your culture will allow for that. I know a lot of companies, you wouldn't have to wait for the yearly review to give immediate feedback. Because also I think that helps. The more recent, the more concrete the feedback is, the more it gets acted on. So just a build on what Robin said.
Great, thanks. Right, anybody else? Come on, yes. I know that if I'm not going to ask this question, I'm not going to be able to speak tonight. So I'm just using this panel to the best of our advantage, and it's a very practical question.
Disclaimer. You take this one.
You can give a range, but I have a question for Kuya Robin, which is how much would be a good range to live comfortably in Singapore to start a family?
Oh.
And the second question is how much, to Atenina, is how much should you have in savings to move countries?
You want to start?
Yeah.
How much, Kuya?
Comfortably. Okay. Well, I'm doing my math right now. They say I had this conversation with my friends, and we actually hashed it out. Combined, 10-ish, 10 plus, 10-ish.
To be comfortable.
Combined as in you and
What
Is
I
this
mean,
monthly salary?
monthly.
combined.
Yeah, because that is when I think that when you reach that, you're kind of
Okay.
because that's the in our society, right? What I mean by comfortable is that anytime I need to go to A&E, I don't worry,
Okay.
Yeah.
right?
This is only applicable to kids that are or just to start a family now.
Like let's say you have pregnancy and you have complications. Do you have something in your back pocket? Are you able to borrow? Also you have to if you're used to Josh's family has a car, he's going to be used to driving. His view of comfort is different from other people's view of comfort. Yeah. Any lowering of the standard of living, I'm going to be honest, is going to be uncomfortable. And you have to set aside. So let's say 1.5 for a car. If you have kids that love expensive fruits, we did a blind test, guys. NTUC or like the three times as much the wet market one. Mix it up. They go for this. Rebecca went 1, 2. This one's sweet. No, without telling me this is sweet. They're like bite marks on the pears. And then anyway, so that's what 700 for you there. So you're at 222 now.
700 for fruits?
For groceries. You know how you can one strawberry, and if they love it, and it's really nice, I need to admit. And then you've got your eat outs. You want to have a family, you want to have dates, right? That's $70 easy. $100 if bougie a little bit. And then of course you got 10% for tithes and offerings, so 10K, so 1K. And then you have the savings part, you have the investments, you have the insurance part. So right around 10, plus minus, a few thousand here and there.
How like that?
10 plus minus
10
plus minus 10. Minus 10 also.
Yeah, comfortable as in you're not worried. Well, Another thing I judge comfort is when I go to a place, I don't look at menu prices. That's comfort. If you go to a place and you have to check the expensive, yeah, you're not that comfortable. Or maybe you're extremely prudent in your thing.
Depends which country you go to. Obviously, if you go to a third world country, you can get by with so little and live comfortably. I would assume you're talking about London. When we moved to Singapore, but then I think slightly different context because then the company ended up paying for a lot of the upfront costs. But like a thing is, do your math because we've also heard some people, it sounded glamorous. They took the first offer without accounting for expensive schools, without accounting for, suddenly everything's ×3. So parang do your math correctly. But again, I guess depends on the offer. Therefore. But I think with technology now, you'll have a lot of forums, and I think a lot of the expat forums, for instance, a good source of information because you will find a full range. It's like living in city center is very different from the cost of living elsewhere. So I don't think you can get by with just one number. You have to check what are your priorities, what are the trade-offs you're willing to make.
Just to add to that, there are forums on Facebook about expat living and where they come from.
Right.
They actually like openly tell and.
Right.
Happen to be in some groups.
There are people who've been there, done that.
Yep.
And they're so willing to hey, I'm this is my experience, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, did that answer your question, Sam? Right. Okay. Sigur, I really like this question that was asked. We'll do this last one. Anybody else? Because we're running out of time now. Before I.
Actually, that's Jez's question. Jez has a question all the way from the Philippines.
From
Bataan. All right, her question is: Is imposter syndrome normal? How do you deal with imposter syndrome? For those who don't know, imposter syndrome is loosely defined as doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud, even if you've actually done some achievable things. But you can't help but feel like you do not deserve it. This is open for anyone.
I'd like to answer that question.
Oh, all right.
I'd like to answer your question. A couple years back, I was given the opportunity to illustrate some books, 2 books, and it was received by that community so like a bit quite scary because I don't think I'm that great, but then they are like, you're so galing, you're so good. I'm gonna bring you to France. We do there, and we will play, and we almost went to France to perform and everything. But then it didn't happen because of COVID. But I didn't know how to accept the praise. Because I doodled the entire thing and I didn't even try. I tried a lot, but it's not as great as I would compare it to others. Actually, I realized that it's because I couldn't accept the praise. Because I don't know if that was if I accept it, am I humble or, I sometimes I learned that sometimes you just take it. Accept that yes, in this circumstance you did well. Yes, because I think also it comes from a point where you're always comparing yourself to somebody else is way better, which is also a good. It's in some perspectives I think it's a good posture to have, but at the same time you should also realize your value that you add into the situation. So up to now I still cannot accept it, but then slowly I feel like I realized actually looking back it was great work at the time, and of course I can do better. Then let me do better. I guess, yeah.
I think it's want to raise consciousness because a lot of research literature done around imposter syndrome, and they say it's more common among women. Is what they said. What that means, if you get the job description, the person needs to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A lady with 8 out of 10 would say, "Oh, I don't think I'm good enough." Research says a man with 5 out of 10 says, "Yes, let's do this. I'm qualified." That's what imposter syndrome tangibly looks like. And this is like a shout out to women, maybe I'm speaking more to the women too, because it's very common, even regardless of race. But they say layer in the Asian woman, it slides down. So like you need to get a 9.5 over 10 before you say, I'm ready for this job. So it's very real. But the truth is, it's the way your self-talk is pretty much your reality. So if you can change, be like a man, think if I'm 5 out of 10, I got this. Start rewiring that, because then I don't think, if you really want to grow, you'll never be 100% ready for any job. As long as you have like, a good 5 out of 10, go for it. You will learn the 5 out of 10 along the way. But you gotta believe that you can do it. And again, not just self-confidence, God confidence. If you open this door, Lord, for me, you're with me, we got this. So I think that's how you also beat imposter syndrome.
I think the performing arts industry is harsh, super harsh, because you like not just because it's seasonal, but because every time you go into the room, you don't know the people in front of you, or if you're lucky, you know the people in front of you, but then you still have to bear yourself in front of them, like in terms of like auditioning. You like Ate Menina said, there's a couple of criteria that they're looking at. They'll give you a portfolio, they'll give you a stuff to play around and then present it, but then it doesn't guarantee your spot. You may look the part, but you don't sound the part. You may sound the part, but then you don't look the part. Your hair doesn't look that right. Your body is too short, or like all these little things, and you're being judged right in the front. Like as soon as you step into the door, the way you walk is something that they already look at. The way you look intently in each other's eyes, it's something that they already. They try to get something out of it already. But also at the same time, like. For me personally, every time I do a show and after a show people come, right? Then it's like those big, like those applause and those like, oh, congratulations, give you flower, you did so well. That I still actually have trouble accepting the praise and the compliments. It's still something that I think I struggle with, and I don't really say it out, but it's because it's like, oh, is it really me that is it really something that I did? Maybe it's just the script that was very good, and therefore, my acting is very good, or people say, or people really just come to you and out of good nature just want to congratulate you for something that you did. I don't have a perfect answer to how I handle imposter syndrome. I just believe that the Lord has given me such a big opportunity, and any opportunity, whether small or something exclusive, I just give it to Him, because I feel it is my journey with my relationship with God and my performing career is everything that I go through here. It's tangible. It can just go away. I can never get it. I can never hold on to it as too long, because eventually it's gonna go. And so what I do with that moment, and with whatever what I do with that moment, and that the people that I meet, and the work that I present, be it audition or the show, it's because of God. Yeah, I thank the Lord lang talaga. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for answering. Anybody else? Last one. We are overrun by like 6 minutes. Nothing? Hold your peace. Okay. Okay, so we are coming to a close. I think in July we will have the second one, and it will be more about finances. So jumping off from Sarah's question as well, let's like meditate on these questions. Ask like if you experience things in the next few months, let's save that and then pocket it, and then Alan will send a pigeonhole, and then we will meet back here with a different group of experiences. Just to close this off, in one sentence, how do you measure success in your career? One sentence.
Oh, so hard.
So while you ponder that question, we want to appreciate you po with some gifts. Yes. So you can order Starbucks and not worry. Thank you po for making time to come here. Especially it's been a long day, Mother's Day, and you have Mother's Day to celebrate. Thank you for your wisdom, and you are truly a blessing. God has put you through all that for this moment to share to us here who are about to walk into this world, going to face similar situations. And everyone, please feel free to ask them after, message them. They are so welcome to continue this conversation in Starbucks, they'll treat you. I mean, not that they have $10. Okay,
Take
please.
1%.
One lang, and then you put in the small Starbucks, how you share. Communion style. Communion style. Ay, $10 pa yung total. Okay, quickly, I need your
To be last for this question, so I'll go first. It's finding success in the career is having an intersection of doing what you love to do, doing something you're good at, and contributing to something that the world needs. If you get that sweet spot, that's success in career.
How do you follow that up?
That's why she went first. We know how to. You can say it in point form.
Pag ganun daw.
I just,
sentence.
how do I measure success in one sentence? I just love what I do lah. Just love what I do. Yeah.
Oh, snaps.
You did that question.
Yeah, because I really want to know. What's success in career, right? As with a lot of stories, you only see it at the end. You can also look at it every step that I take, that I'm following God. You know, and I would like to believe that, I would like to hope that at the end of my story, at the end of my career, in the working world, I look back and said, I did what I was told to do at that time, because it changes.
Nice.
Hirap na one sentence.
Okay, I think I'll go back to what I said earlier about fulfillment. So, if you find fulfillment in what you're doing, then you are almost successful, right? As long as you're not harming anyone, you are within the guardrails, then you are successful. One of my past manager told me last time, if you try to, he told me this, try to find, try to ask yourself, how can I make your manager's life better or easier? Okay, and actually it resonated with me because, not resonated with me, it somehow took a piece of a passage in the Bible that says, work as if you're working for the Lord, right? So as long as your motivation is for something that is good and for the glory of God, then there will always be success in that. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, that's excellent point. Okay, so thank you everybody for coming. Sorry we are overrun by about to be 15 minutes. But I think we all take home a lot, and we are somewhat a little bit could be more prepared to face tomorrow, or
Thanks,
even
Nation
yeah.
Drive, for excellent facility.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Okay, let's close in prayer. Kuya Elmer, would you like to bless us for?
Okay, yeah, everyone, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day, Lord, and thank you for this chance you've given us to be better prepared, to be adults, not just adults in terms of age, but adults that are responsible and mature, that are doing things for your glory. And again, we thank you for giving us the panelists and the host today and the questions and the jam-packed crowd here today in this place, Lord. And we just pray that everything that we have learned today will be able to put it into action as soon as possible, Lord. And everyone who has heard some insights and ideas today, just also help us have an opportunity to pass it on to other people so that we can be a blessing as well to others. And we just entrust to you the rest of this night, Lord. This is our prayer in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you. We will see you all. Yes, yes. We will see you all next Sunday, 12:30.
Yeah.
Not 4 anymore. 12:30. Yes, 12:30. To